Hey guys, Josh here, and this is my review of Potion Permit, developed by Masshive Media and published by P-Cube. This is a story-driven crafting or potion brewing game, and it comes out for Steam, Xbox, PS4, PS5, and Nintendo Switch on September 22nd. In this video, I will be discussing the Switch version specifically because that's the one I played. I received the review code from the publisher earlier this week, so thank you very much for that. And I will be discussing the graphics and performance first, then the story, and we'll end with the gameplay. Hopefully by the end of this video, you will have a good idea if Potion Permit is for you or not, and now let's get started. So I'll begin with the graphics and performance. This game has a gorgeous pixel art style, as you can see, and as soon as you start playing, you will notice the amount of care that was put into it. The environments are vibrant with life. I like to see all the details with birds flying around, ducks swimming in the water, or just the idle animations of the characters and the movement in their hair. I know a lot of people are tired to see pixel art games, but this one looks so polished, and I think that visually it will be appealing to most players, even if you're not typically into pixel art. But usually pixel art means that the game will run smoothly on most platforms without any problem. However, I did have some performance issues with the Switch version. For the most part, it runs fine, but from time to time the game freezes for maybe a second or so, and every time it happens, I just get very panicked and I think it's going to crash. And if that was the only problem, I wouldn't mind too much, but there are times where the game actually got stuck or that it crashed completely. And fortunately, it does save automatically every morning, so you never lose too much progress, but it's still pretty frustrating. Keep in mind, I am playing an early version of the game, so any bug or technical issue I mentioned in this video might no longer be relevant by the time the game releases on the 22nd, but I played the demo of this game on Steam earlier this year, and I will say it ran a lot better on my PC than on my Switch. Next, let's talk about the story. In this game, you play as a chemist who was sent to the little town of Moonbury in order to help save the mayor's daughter who got ill. The community is usually relying on traditional medicine and their local witch doctor, but this time, nothing is working for them, so you get there and use the power of science and chemistry to save the girl. Even after saving her, everyone is skeptical of you, especially the witch doctor, and your goal is to earn everybody's trust, and you will do that by accomplishing quests for the villagers and of course healing them in the rundown clinic you have been assigned to. The story managed to keep me interested. As you progress, you will find out why people are afraid of trusting you, but you will persist and notice their attitude change gradually. Each character also has their own side stories and cutscenes, which will allow you to get to know them a little bit more. You can increase your friendships with villagers by talking to them daily and giving them moon cloves, which is Moonbury's signature tea, and you will get that by completing quests. Once you fill up a friendship bar with a villager, it will get locked, and in order to progress to the next friendship level, you will need to complete that character's event or side story. In some games, it can be hard to trigger these type of events because you typically have to be at the right place at the right time, but in Potion Permit, there is a bulletin board on which all of the events will be listed with the exact time and place you need to show up at. I thought these side stories were interesting enough and just a good thing to have in between the events of the main story. I played the game for about 17 hours, which is how long it took me to beat the main story, so I think you can expect something between 15 to 20 hours depending on your pace. But if you want to max out all of the friendships and see all of the side events the game has to offer, it can keep you busy for a little bit longer. However, for me, I did not feel that the game was engaging enough to make me continue playing. I will explain the gameplay loop and I think you will understand why. So first, you will be running a clinic. On any given day, there's a chance that a patient will come to your clinic and need to be healed. You will have to diagnose them first, and to do that, you just talk to them. They will tell you which body parts are hurting, such as left ankle, right eye, upper left arm, or something like that. Then you will see the image of a body, and you just click on the right body part, and a minigame will start to do the diagnosis. Those minigames are pretty simple and fun at first. In one of them, you have to memorize 4 arrows and repeat them in the same order. Another one is kind of a rhythm game, and in the third one, you have to avoid LOL viruses. The better you do with these diagnoses, the higher the satisfaction of the patient will be, which means more money and more trust for you. However, 2 things. These minigames are overly simple and never get harder. It makes the satisfaction meter pretty useless as the minigames are almost impossible to fail unless you really don't try. Second, and that's also due to the fact that they are too easy, but those minigames are boring, and after a few times I found myself always dreading new patients and having to sometimes do these minigames 2 or 3 times in a row if a patient had multiple injuries. Later on, you will be able to skip minigames by using serums, but brewing those serums will take more time than just pushing through the minigame, and of course will require you to use some ingredients. So the serums are not really worth it, and there's no efficient way to just skip the minigames. Once the diagnosis is done, it will tell you what kind of potion you need. You will then go to your house and use your cauldron to brew the remedy. You'll select the potion, and you'll have to complete a puzzle by using different ingredients, each with their own element, such as water, fire, wind, and earth, and of course their own shape. Some potions will let you use only specific elements, especially near the end of the game where the puzzles can require a little bit of thinking, but it never gets too complicated or overwhelming. You also have a limited quantity of ingredients you can use for each potion, so your goal will be to fill up the puzzle using as few ingredients as possible. Later on, you will be able to upgrade your cauldron and get a higher capacity, which will be required for more complex potions. What I like the most about this mechanic is that there's never just one way to brew a potion. I played plenty of crafting games and I find it irritating when they need you to get a very specific ingredient and you have to go out just to get that one thing that's missing every time. Here you have a ton of different pieces, and even if you're missing one that could be ideal, most of the time you will be able to figure out a solution with what you have, and you can craft a few potions without having to go out and gather ingredients every time. It could seem tedious having to complete these puzzles every time, but once you've brewed a potion 5 times, you can make up to 3 custom recipes that will allow you to brew it instantly in the future. I really like this because you will get to plan those recipes, and trying to figure out the most optimal way to brew a potion can be fun. If you just need to brew a potion once, it might not matter too much what you use, but if you want to set up a recipe you will use over and over again, then in that case you'd really want to find a recipe for which you're most likely to always have the ingredients on you. So now let's talk about getting those ingredients. There are a few different areas outside of town where you will find herbs, trees, rocks, and monsters. Using your scythe, axe, and hammer, you will be able to get resources from all of these things. Each area will have different resources, so usually every other day or so I would go almost everywhere and collect as many things as I can in order to have a bit of everything in my inventory and make the potion brewing a bit easier. Monsters will be roaming around. You can use any of your tools to hit them, but sometimes you will encounter enemies that require their armor to be destroyed with a hammer or their shield to be destroyed with an axe. Besides that, the combat is pretty simple. You just have one button to attack and you can roll away when you see the enemy is going to hit. I have to say, however, some of the monsters were a bit more annoying than others, and if I didn't need any more of the ingredients they were dropping, I would just find myself running away from them while I was trying to gather herbs and other things. Once you've collected everything, you'll go back to brew the potion and give it to the patient. In exchange, you will get money, moon cloves, and trust. I haven't talked too much about the trust system yet, but if people trust you, you will see this green thumbs up. If they don't, you will get a red thumbs down. To progress in the story, you need people to trust you, and if you fail to heal a patient properly, or if you fail some other quest, you can lose trust. I have not really lost any trust during my playthrough, so I can't speak to how big of a difference it makes, but it is pretty difficult to lose trust. I think this is such a good idea in concept, and I wish the developer went a bit deeper with the trust system. Maybe they could have done something similar to the alignment in the Fable games, where depending on your actions, your character will become good or evil, and other characters and the story will shift depending on that. But it's not really the case here. The trust mechanic exists, but it's not something that's relevant or that you have to think about unless you really go out of your way not to do anything and to fail everything. But once your trust is high enough, you will get a badge and unlock a new area to progress in the main story. In each area, there will be some unusual phenomenon that can be fixed with a potion, but in order to discover the recipe for that potion, you will need to research it first. There is a table to do research in your house, and just like the minigame for brewing or diagnosis, it is a bit too easy. You have to click on these circles until all of the element icons at the bottom light up. The goal is to find the right element in the right place, but there's no way to fail, no time limit, no challenge. Just click until you find all of the icons and everything is lit up and you're done. You know the recipe, that's it. You then brew the potion. Usually they will be a bit harder than regular potions, but really not that much. And then you go back to the area where there was a problem and you solve it with the potion. Then the cycle continues, you go to a new area and repeat the same thing. Between each of these, you will learn more about the story, which I found interesting, but the whole process is a bit lackluster. It's just too easy, too simple, and it's the same formula over and over again. In between these main story events, you will get some patients at your clinic, but there are a few other things you can do in this game. There's cooking, which was a bit useless. I usually just slept when I ran out of stamina. There's also fishing, which, believe it or not, I played over 17 hours and I have no idea how to fish or even how to get a fishing rod. There's a shop where you can buy worms. I saw a few fishing spots here and there, but I was never given a fishing rod and I was never asked to get a fish for a quest. It's just odd that they made a fishing mechanic. There's a whole list of fish you can catch, and I'm sure they're useful for cooking, even though cooking is not that useful. But the game never really shows you how to get a fishing rod, and you can beat the whole game without getting one. Maybe I was just unlucky and didn't trigger some events, but one thing I believe is important for this kind of life sim or crafting games is to have all of the features connect to each other in a way. But I feel like in Potion Permit, they just added fishing as an afterthought because these games tend to have fishing. However, there's no real reason for it to be in this game. There are a few other side activities that make more sense and that are presented to you early in game. So there's some part-time jobs, which are little mini games once again. There's a bulletin board with quests for the various villagers, and you can also make your own potions to sell in the shipping box outside your house, which was my preferred way of making money. With your money, you can upgrade your house in the clinic. Upgrading your house will allow you to cook or just have more space to decorate. And upgrading the clinic will let you get a bit more money from your patients. The most useful upgrades you can get, however, are the tool upgrades, and these will make it a lot easier to get ingredients and fight enemies. So I would recommend you put your money and resource into that before anything else. So for the most part, that is what you will do in Potion Permit. Overall, my feelings are very mixed towards this game. It looks beautiful, the story and characters are interesting, and I did enjoy my time with it. However, the gameplay loop is a bit too formulaic, the minigames became tedious very quickly, some features like cooking or fishing feel unnecessary, and overall the game did not manage to keep me interested after beating the main story. So if you're looking for a fun story and cute pixel art, something easy to play, go for it. But if you're looking for the next game that will keep you busy for hours on end, or anything with some sort of challenge, I don't know if that game is the right one. I know there has been a demo for this game on Steam in the past, so if another demo comes out, just give it a try. It will give you a pretty good idea of how the game plays, as it doesn't change much as you progress, so what you see in the demo is what you'll see in the full game. I feel bad because I sincerely wanted to love this game so much and I had been looking forward to it for a long time. I know that it's a small team of passionate indie developers behind this project. I want to support them, and Potion Permit is not a bad game, but maybe it's just not for me. Let me know if you have played Potion Permit. Was I too harsh on this game? Did you enjoy it? Why or why not? Leave a like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and I'll see you all in the next video.